Hi guys, so there has been a lot happening in the Summer Wells case in the last few days, and yet nothing happening, if that makes sense. Some people have reached out and thought it was peculiar with all of the craziness happening that I haven't spoke on any of it. Well, it is spring break here for my kids, so I've been extremely busy, but I have been watching and trying to process all that is coming out. So let's start with Benny Keys and his video. Benny Keys released a video that was very long. It was like a three-part series. And in this video, he is talking to Tim Mullins, the media manager for the Wells, and also to Candace Wells. And I felt personally like he amped up this video to be like a bombshell video. And after listening to it, I just didn't get that wow moment. So tell me what you thought. Now, granted, I didn't listen to it in its entirety, partly because of my feelings for Benny and partly because Candace is very hard to understand on the phone. I listened to a lot of it, but I kind of just fast forwarded, skimmed, went back, whatever. So maybe something was revealed in the parts that I didn't listen to that I've yet to find out about. And if you heard something different than I did, please let me know. But I just never got that bombshell moment. What I mainly heard was a whole lot about this phone. The phone that when Don Wells was arrested for his DUI that he gave to Tim Mullins. Tim Mullins is accused of allegedly downloading the data off the phone before he gave it to Candace. Now, there's like a good hour of this video where Benny is just going on and on in circles with Tim Mullins about the phone and how he should turn it in to TBI. And then when he is talking to Candace, he's also urging her to turn in the phone. And I have to say, shockingly, I agree with Benny on this point. Yes, they should turn in the phone, most definitely. However, in my opinion, I don't feel that this phone is going to have any huge evidentiary value because I can't imagine that Dawn would be dense enough to put any incriminating information in that phone. And if I'm understanding it correctly, this phone would have been a newer phone after Summer went missing. So I can't imagine that he would put anything in that phone when TBI and FBI and everybody's already involved in the case. But I could be wrong. And at any rate, they should turn in the phone. But other than Benny going on and on and on to them about this phone, the repercussions of not turning it in, how they should turn it in. I just didn't hear much else in this video that turned the case on its head, if you will. As far as Candace, when he's talking to Candace, he does get her to say that if she thought that Dawn was involved, it would make her sick. It would turn her stomach, basically. Well, I mean, we would assume anybody would feel that way, but I never heard him get her to say that she does think that Dawn was involved. I just kind of heard her saying if she allowed herself to believe that Dawn was involved, it would be too upsetting to her. Did you hear anything else? Was there anything else in this video that you found to be incredibly important to the case? I didn't. Now, what do you think Benny's motives are? Do you think that Benny has been pretending and playing a role this whole time as Candace's friend just so he could gather information to use against her? Or do you think that he truly was a Wells supporter and he was her friend, but at some point he began to doubt her innocence? Or do you think that he's just salty that Candace is now whooping it up with Ernie Snell? Who is a foe to Benny. And Benny, I think we all know Benny is not very happy about Candace and Ernie having their own lives and their own discussions. So let me know what you think. Revenge, or he truly was gathering evidence all this time in this case to find Summer. So that's that with Benny's video. I thought that it fell flat. That's just my opinion. Now, let's look at Jose Roman. So Jose had done his interview, it has to be about a week ago now, where he was talking to Justice for All. And this this video and this interview really left a lot of people feeling very emotional, myself included. I have a whole video where I'm like crying, like eyeliner down my face, because I was so touched by the way that Jose talked about Summer and really brought this little girl to life. You know, he described her personality in a way that we had not heard up until this point, and it was very touching. But soon the dust settled and the sun came up, and many people started to present information that would make Jose less of a hero and maybe a bad guy in the story. But here was a problem with a lot of the information that was coming out. There are two men by the same name, one having nothing to do with this case, and then our Roman that was in the interview. And it looks like some of the information that keeps coming out is getting tangled up. Okay, so the Summer Wells Roman has had some accusations put out there that may not be accurate and may actually be attributed to the other Jose that has nothing to do with the case. And a lot of YouTubers, myself included, kind of started to put some of that information out and then had to either retract it, delete videos, you know, whatever. And that's because most of us with any integrity want to be careful. We are all at risk of giving misinformation. That's, you know, any reporter, any YouTuber, any human being who is relating information is always at the mercy of where they get the information and how accurate or truthful it is. So there may always come a time when we may say something that turns out to be false. But at the very least, we want to sleep soundly at night knowing that to the best of our knowledge, what we have said is accurate. And in this situation with Jose, that has been very difficult to do. So a lot of us are just kind of stepping away from the more sensitive accusations until we know more about the accuracy of them, because those are very sensitive accusations to put on somebody's name unless you are at least pretty confident that they are accurate. But one of the things that we are talking about that I think is safe to kind of talk about is his timeline. His timeline is questionable. Now, whether or not that's intentional on his part or he is just confused, that's another story. But we all kind of are looking at his timeline and going, that doesn't really make sense. There's too much information that puts him at the wells at times where he claims he is no longer there. Now, one of the things that I remember is Dudley. Who remembers Dudley? Dudley was Dawn's co-worker who Dawn pointed the finger at as abducting Summer because he was upset that Dawn fired him the day before Summer went missing. Dudley did an interview in the beginning of this case to clear his name. And in that interview, long before Jose was really even important to the story, Dudley is talking about the dynamics of the Wells house, who's there, you know, how they interact, you know, all of that. And he brings up Jose. He says, and Jose's living there with Grandma in her trailer. That sounds like it could be possible because all along we've heard that Jose was like this Greek god that every woman in that house was just, you know, fighting over Allie and Candace and Grandma. You know, we've all heard that story, right? True or not, we've all heard it. So that almost fits with Dudley's version of Jose being there and having a relationship with Grandma and living over in her trailer. So when Dudley's telling the story, he's not telling it in a way to put any heat on Jose. He's just kind of matter-of-factly stating who's there or who was there at the time. And that made it feel more truthful. And now I'm thinking back to that and I'm thinking, wait a minute, was Jose still there when Summer went missing? So you can get that interview in a lot of different places, but I think in its entirety, a part 1 and 2, you can find if you go to the Chronicles of Olivia's YouTube page and you go back a little bit, you should be able to get Dudley's interview in its whole entirety from beginning to end. And you'll hear him talking about Jose. And, you know, he sounds very truthful when he's telling it. And now I'm thinking about that and I'm like, holy heck, if that's true, and that puts Jose there when Summer went missing, and Jose is not being truthful about being there, that would be huge, right? Because why would you delete yourself out of the story if you were there, unless it's untruthful but innocent, like you had nothing to do with it, but you don't want to be put in the mix, in the public eye or in the media. But I don't know, you guys are going to have to listen to that and let me know what you make of it. Do you believe Jose's timeline? Do you believe that Jose was there longer than he says he was? Do you believe that Jose is a hero or a bad guy based on the things that you've been hearing? Now, Andrew Hiltz, Hunter's father, came out in the last 24 to 48 hours, and he put out that one of Jose's family members contacted him with some really scandalous accusations against Jose. You can go to Andrew Hilt's page and you can or channel, and you can listen to that. I'm going to reserve judgment on that only because I don't know yet that is an actual family member, or that what the person is saying is true. Andrew says he's going to have that person on panel and have an interview with them in the weeks to come. Right now, he says that his doctor has advised him to kind of take a break. I guess he alleges he has some heart problems and he's supposed to kind of rest or chill out for a bit, but that he's going to dive into that in the weeks to come. So maybe at that point, we'll begin to understand the dynamics and the truthfulness of this person that is allegedly going to come forward. And I believe it to be a family member, undisclosed what their relation is, and or also Jose's ex-wife. So let's wait on that and let's see what comes out of that. So that is the Benny thing, and that is the Jose tidbit. Now let's look at the interview that Hunter's mom, grandma, and great-grandma spontaneously gave when they were stopped on the street and asked questions by another channel. So the interviewer is asking them some questions about everybody, about Hunter, about Summer, about Candace, about Dawn. And it was a strange interview because parts of it seemed like they were being very truthful. They even got very emotional, and a couple of them teared up at times when they were talking about Hunter and how Hunter has never been the same since that day at the watering hole. And I felt like there was some truth in what they were saying because, they were overcome with emotion when they were talking. But then other parts of what they were saying was, to me personally, a little outrageous. I mean, they accused Candace of indecencies with Summer along with Dawn. They accused Dawn of having prior indecencies with one of their very young family members. And why do I question the validity of that? Well, if that were true, why would you have Candace rolling up to your house and taking your child out for the day? Like, you would have no dealings with them outside of maybe a courtroom. So I questioned that. Also, it felt like at times the interviewer was asking leading questions, maybe unintentionally, but it felt like they were just kind of like agreeing or giving information that maybe they thought was the answer that the interviewer wanted, if you understand what I'm saying. Such as, like, did they ever give, alcohol to their kids? Yes. Like, it just felt very like they were just giving the answer that they thought was expected. And I could be wrong. But that was the feeling that I got from it. Also, they gave teasers. They talked about how Hunter was never the same after that day at the watering hole, yet they never gave us any follow-up information, and it just left us on the edge of our seat. Maybe legally they can't give us any more information, but these teasers were almost too much to bear. They talked about how when Hunter was out with his girlfriend and her mother, after he went swimming, that when he got back, he went straight to his room, and he was very upset, and they had to draw him out of his room out onto the porch to have a conversation with them. And then you sat there waiting to hear what the conversation was about, and then they would just drop it. They would say, alluding to that he saw or knew something that day. And then they would just change the subject. And I was like, what are you doing? Now, again, there could be some legalities around why they're not giving more information. They are certainly becoming more verbal. They're popping up in interviews on different channels and whatnot, but they're not giving us that final piece of information that we so want. And we'll just have to stay tuned. They may never give it to us if it's going to be part of, the ultimate court case or whatever. But what did you feel about that? Did you feel the same way I did, that parts of it seemed fabricated, parts of it seemed authentic, and parts of it just left you, salivating for more information that never came? So that's it. That's kind of what has been happening in the last few days. I apologize, a minute ago you probably heard the door opening and shutting. So my free time is up. My littles seem to be ready for my attention. So I'm going to go, and I will talk to you soon. Let me know what your thoughts are on all of it. Benny's video, his motives, Jose, hero or bad guy, and what you made out of Hunter's family's interview, what you were left with and what you were feeling after you listened to it. Okay? Talk to you soon. Bye.